Welcome to Football is Nice with me, Russell Brand, Gareth Roy, Jenny Mayfinn, the producer, where we talk about football-related events over the week and over our lives and how football affects us. But here's a good description. From Prickly on the 24th of September, he left a review on iTunes. Why don't you leave a review? He says, poor pronunciations, frequent mistaken identities, guests often not quite getting the podcast, lazy jingles, fan baiting, a producer who doesn't care about football, idolising tyrants, 5 stars. Could there be a better summary of our show than that, Gareth Roy?
Wonderful. I wonder, who are these tyrants that they're talking about?
Yeah, do we idolise a tyrant?
I don't know.
We mustn't idolise tyrants.
We mustn't.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
Falling into their trap right there. They want to be idols, don't they?
Yeah, that was a part review, part advice, I think.
Yeah, we'll take that advice. Let's not idolise tyrants anymore, and let's work on our pronunciation. I know that's primarily me. Jenny, we're not going to make you love football.
No, Jen has promised to be our women's football correspondent.
Oh, yeah. I looked at their Twitter feed, or Instagram feed.
What's happening there in the Twitter feed of women's football then, Jen? I'm sure that's one Twitter feed.
No, it's the Norwich team. Yeah, they seemed very happy.
Good. Just imagine if people were using this as a resource for actual information. Just to let you know that women's football, they're very happy at Norwich Ladies or Norwich Women's or whatever they're called now. That's nice.
Did you enjoy the football at the weekend?
Which bit?
Well, there was all sorts. I mean, you text me about the Liverpool City game that you were watching, which I think you texted me during the second half, which was really when it came alive, wasn't it?
I was watching it in a car. I was on my way to do a show in Birmingham, which, like, my shows start at 6 p.m. People don't like to accept that my shows start at 6 p.m. because that's not when shows are supposed to start, Gal. No. Shows start at 7 or even 8 p.m., but I like to start them at 6. So, like, the show, there weren't enough people there to start it, so I had to just wait. People power won through there in Birmingham. So, but I made the most of it by continuing to watch Liverpool v City, and there was just...
What, during the gig?
Yeah, I'm so accomplished as a performer that I can sort of basically keep people amused with insights on culture, current social events, emotions, mental illness, the intersection of all these points, and still pay close attention as Mo Salah weaves his way in.
Plus 5 players.
Wasn't that like a sublime moment from
really
Mo Salah?
Amazing goal. I think Klopp said afterwards people will still be talking about it in 60 or 70 years. 60
or 70 years, I'm afraid to say that...
You don't think they will?
What I think might have happened within 60 or 70 years is there'd been such a radical reorganisation of society, people might not be concerned about it. I don't know, but everyone thinks that.
Yeah, you do. You can't possibly comprehend 60 or 70 years, can you? And,
we won't actually be alive. And that...
Well, you say that, but there have been some huge advances in the scientific world.
Do you want the gift of eternal life, Gal?
I don't know. It's that's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, you went in a cryogenic chamber recently, didn't you? Would that help? It didn't help for Jackson, did it?
It certainly didn't. That's when things went rapidly downhill for Jackson. Was after that, and apparently Walt Disney.
Wow. He's back.
Not Walt Disney. Me, I'm back saying wow. He did apparently cryogenically. I went in a cryogenics chamber at my new gym that I've managed to wangle membership for with my mate Dan.
Wow, you've got a gym with mine hasn't even got a sauna.
This has got a sauna.
Barely got a running machine.
Look, I'm only there for the cryogenics at this point. I went in there, and what happens? The thing is, with going in a cryogenic chamber, and I'll talk you through this, as well as we will be doing the results, our predictions. We'll be talking. We've got tweets. We've got Dean Ashton, former West Ham, and Norwich.
I know. Yeah, we'll be talking a lot about
bringing
Norwich.
the Norwich fans close to our heart where they belong,
which we need to do.
Because I'm sorry about that thing.
I'm now on the same boat as you now. Actually,
because you criticised Arsenal
and PSG apparently last week. I've had a bit of
no way. You've antagonised PSG fans.
PSG fans.
What have they got to worry about?
They just said,
don't say it about us. You don't know what it's like to be a PSG fan.
Well, he said basically, and I'm sure this is absolutely true, of course. Look, ultimately, when we talk about, I mean, I never thought I'd end up having to say something like this, but when we talk about any of these teams, I think the caveat to all of it is always the fans are amazing. If you're a football fan, if you're someone who is invested in your team, who goes through all the emotions that we all do, and whatever team you support, of course we all. I mean, this is nothing but love for football fans.
Yeah, football is nice. You are nice. Yeah. We love people. This is a celebrate. God knows in other areas of work, there's enough to contend with the YouTube channel, right? Yeah. Here, we just want to have fun and be nice. Now, what Gareth said is like the Arsenal fans celebrated too much after the 3-1.
Well, I actually said Arteta. I thought Arteta did. And then
you didn't say Arsenal fans, did you? You said they're entitled to.
I said Arteta celebrated a bit too much, almost covering up for the fact that they had a terrible start to the season. And a fan came back online and said he's entitled to celebrate winning a North London derby, which of course is absolutely true. I was talking about the kind of bigger context of Arsenal at the moment and the fact that there's got a long way to go. But
with my communication with football fans and around football, it's in a sense, in parentheses, this is all a joke.
Yeah.
And I'm only mucking about. This isn't like, of course I love football and I know what football means. But in terms of, I don't think your team's as good and you've made some mistakes. And what about this from your history? All of this is a game.
Yes.
For me. It's not like, right, I've got some serious points to make now about Newcastle, the last people on earth that you want to antagonise. But it's all a joke. It's all play. I think it's like, in a sense, the togetherness of the fact that we all care about the same thing, the same subject, is the unifying.
Yeah, I also think it's very hard to monitor the emotion of football fans as a collective when it comes to a club. And we had True Geordie on last week, and he was speaking in very serious terms,
very
about
passionate and angry
about the state of Newcastle.
He looks too much like the lady from Casualty, and we're all angry about that.
Well, we are. Yeah,
I think that was his main point. Steve Bruce, she's too much like the lady from Casualty.
That was his main point, yeah. I guess if there's anything to learn from this, it's that we need to, any issue such as that is the prerogative of a fan of that team and not us to necessarily. Maybe that's what we learn.
That's the rule. We've learned a lot.
But look, I'm taking away from your cryogenic chamber story.
You go in there and you put that thing that Jimenez is wearing on his head.
Yep, that he keeps taking off.
You don't take that off in the cryogenic chamber, mate. It's the old cartilage in your ears would frostbite right off.
Oh, wow.
Then you wear then you wear little thermal slippers that are like, I would call them baguettes. I'd call them little fleece baguettes, and you sort of zip it into your foot, but it's below the anklet. And you also wear a thermal sock. I said, I want the ankles cold.
Right.
To Jamie, the man that was doing it. I want cold ankles.
Why do you want cold ankles?
Because I sprained my ankle that time.
Ah, of course.
Yesteryear. So, but he says, no, you have to, and it's more about reducing the core temperature. Anyway, then you wear these, like Finsulate gloves. Finsulate's really pleased with itself. Hey, this is Finsulate. What is Finsulate? Well, you've got a Finsulate hat there, sonny. You're the luckiest girl in town.
They did make out that Finsulate was really scientific.
This is really important.
I think it just had a bit of foam in there, didn't it?
Speak ill of Finsulate. Finsulate's the future.
I once bought some Finsulate gloves from a market, and they were about £1, and I thought
they can't be Finsulate.
Well, one, I thought, are these actual Finsulate? And two, I thought, if they are, they've been having us on for years, because it is just a bit. If you can
get a couple of gloves, Finsulate style, for less than £1, either they're what I'd call a lost leader, and I don't think markets use that kind of strategy of, right, we'll sell these gloves really cheap, then we've got them in the market. Then when they try and get a little box of prawns, £100.
Box of prawns.
I don't know what.
When's the last time Russell went to a market?
I'll take some Thinsulates
and some of your finest boxes of prawns.
Because I can't get wet markets out of my mind. That's as far from the concept of a wet market as I was able to go. A wet fish, a little scavenging fish, prawns, the scum of the sea. They say that if we lived in the sea, we wouldn't eat prawns because we think, ooh, you dirty. It'd be like eating cockroaches or mouses.
Right. Oh, I like a prawn.
Do you eat mouses?
No,
or cockadoroaches?
Not currently.
There you go.
Sorry, carry on. Baguettes and...
You put the baguettes on your feet. You put the Thinsulate gloves on. You wear the Jimenez earpieces. I'm really making an effort with my pronunciation. You wear a COVID mask. And and I was like, did you have these They had them anyway, so they were ahead of the curve when it comes to the wonderful world of mask wearing.
What is this? Because there were other people in the
No,
cryogenic
it's not to do with COVID. It's to do with keep your little mouth and snout. The snout and mouth must be masked in order to keep you warm in the cryo chamber.
Now, what
Basically,
about the
sexual
the old
reproductive?
regions?
I kept on a pair of underpants. He encouraged shorts, but I said, I was like, I'm wearing so much stuff in here now. It's like I'm going to, like I'm like that bloke who goes, I may be gone sometime. To remember that guy who says that? Oates, Captain Oates, I think he was called during maybe gone sometime, and he goes off to die of frostbite, I believe.
He was gone a hell of a long time.
He's still not come back yet. That's how long it is. We still can't quantify it, and I don't think he is coming back actually. And perhaps that's what was always inferred from. Anyway, so you went. I was wearing underpants, white Y front.
Right. Your choice of...
that's what I go for. Or no pants at all.
You've done that for a long time, the old white Y fronts.
I've tried different styles of pants. I don't like a boxer short. I don't like those ones that are snug to the leg. I bet you go for them, don't you? Leg snug, cycly shorts, cut down shorts with a band. And if they were Calvin Klein, it would say Calvin Klein around the top.
Yeah, they do, and they are. Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, okay. I did used to solely buy Calvin Klein, and then recently, during the pandemic, actually, when I stopped caring about almost anything to do with how I looked, hence all sorts of decisions.
My pants went during that time.
Yeah, my pants became non-branded pants, which I think is the right decision. Though it's it's silly. Like, why are you showing off?
It's a marketing exercise, isn't it? Look, there's another way we can extract money from people, get them to spend a lot of money on pants. Well, I'm quite happy to just dress myself in rigs. And
you've done
West Ham top.
You've done Y fronts since the day I've known you. You announced it when we first met.
Well, I'm willing to do this show on MTV, but you should not know this of me. It's a white Y front, and you'll be seeing a lot of them.
Yeah, you've gone through all the how they say fashion comes in cycles, and that's certainly been the case with your Y fronts. I think now they're probably much more accepted than they were when we first met.
There was a point when they were a figure of fun. I did have a time where I used to get from Spitalfields Market a colourful Y front.
The market.
Back again.
With your prawns?
Box of prawns, and I'll have those David Bowie pink Y fronts, please, or Elvis ones, green, or Che Guevara, different icons on a pant. Went for
a little face on a pant.
Yeah, but then as the leg holes go, the leg holes go.
What, they less taut?
The elasticity goes, and then, of course, the privates can they can start to emerge.
Also, I'm not sure how I feel about an icon's face so close to...
He's not... They don't put it... That's interesting, because they made a choice not to have it central. It's to the side, like a badge on a football shirt, It's not like you're not got your reproductive organ.
It's not like looking at it.
Because then it would be pushing out through Elvis's face.
Yeah.
Like an Elvis would like he had the mumps.
Yeah, my mate Andy used to own a pair of Homer Simpson pants, as an adult man. And he would tell me about times when he met his current wife and girlfriend, when he'd be wearing those pants, and when things started to happen in that area,
of course,
he would look down, and in the moment before starting to have relations with his future wife, would notice that Homer's nose grew in size, and that was the thing that he noticed. That in that moment, of course, in that way, you're thinking, like, it's like the movies, like we're about to, make love for the first time, and this is wonderful, and maybe this woman will be the future and have my children. And in that moment, what he was thinking about is, Homer's nose is grown.
It's not a friend of erotica, is what I would say, is to wear a cartoon character at you at the font of your erotic power. I'd say get that away from there. So, look, we've got a lot of things to cover here, because it was a big weekend in the wonderful world of the Premier League. There's been a sacking. They've sacked Anthony Costa from Watford. First
Munoz has gone.
Blue, now Munoz has gone, and Ranieri will be in.
That's correct.
That's got to be covered in detail. We've got to cover a lot of the results. We've got to cover our predictions. I've still got to tell you that when I was I think I've basically told you, what happens is it goes all foggy as if you're going to travel through time. You go in there, the man says, run on the spot, and I'll be watching you, and we'll do a thumbs up every minute, see how long you can stay. I went 3 minutes this time. Next time I'm going to go for 4 minutes, and I'm not wearing the ankle socks next time. I want to be ankle sock free. I won't do it. I want the ankles cold. Anyway, every minute you do a thumbs up to him. The fog comes in, and it is a bit disorienting because you're sort of smothered in fog, and all your chest hairs go like frosty.
Wow. And
you just you sort of run on the spot. But I'm a person that's used to ice baths and things like that, so I feel like I was all right. I kept breathing and stuff, and afterwards you feel very, very exhilarated
Do you?
Yeah. The cold is our friend. The cold is our teacher. So says Wim Hof, who turned up at that Birmingham gig that night at the weekend.
Yeah.
And I think you've got to do these techniques because this is what I suppose it leads to. The inner life is your ultimate reality. Like an obvious example of this could be you could be on a beautiful walk or a beautiful holiday, but if there's something on your mind, you can't be present for that. So the more we do to cultivate the strength of the inner life, whether that's something as biologically evident as the autoimmune system, which Wim Hof says is improved, and in fact now studies suggest that it's true, by exposure to the cold and respiratory techniques, or the inner life from a more mental health and psychological perspective. It's important to do things, meditation, cold therapy. I live like a monk anyway, basically. I'm always doing something. I'm not suggesting monks cryogenically freeze themselves and in a sort of a bikini.
It'd be strange for a monk, because what's the monk wearing in there?
If a monk isn't comfortable naked, is the monk in working? Is what I'd say.
Right. So they wouldn't want the baguettes or any of that.
Maybe they wear the baguettes.
Right.
I'd say stick with the baguettes if you are going to go in a cryogenic chamber. Do you want my breakdown?
Always.
Because we've got remember, we're encouraging you to review this on iTunes, or do you review things elsewhere? Do people review things? Because the real Ronnie's sort of said, the real Ronnie loves it. He says, as someone who's only recently, the real Ronnie 12 on iTunes says that this is the perfect balance. As someone who's recently been able to fully appreciate the beautiful game via TV, my mum would never pay for such a privilege as a child. It's great to see a different perspective on the usually dull reporting of matches. We like quite a lot of the reporting, don't we? But you're allowed your opinion. Football is nice, does exactly what it says on the tin.
Very good. That's a back reference.
Because that's back reference to us. It makes me feel I can appreciate the game so much more without the pressure of conforming to the typical macho man ideology of football. Although I am a typical macho man, actually. So,
sure
plus
you are.
Gareth De Gea. So I'm
lovely.
That's
that's nice. A lot of the comments that are coming back seem to be along these lines.
People feel liberated by us, Gal. They feel liberated.
Especially the real Ronnie you keep talking about.
Have I mentioned real Ronnie again? That's real Ronnie there. Mentioned him or her, don't know the gender, don't care either.
So we come to your breakdown, which seems to be scrolled on the back of some kind of birthday card.
Yeah, because I didn't have I don't keep my phone in my bedroom because otherwise you're looking at your phone too much. You've got to give yourself a break, guys. Keep the phone in another room outside of your bedroom. Jen, are you going to do a jingle for the Russell's football breakdown?
Russell's football breakdown. This is Russell's breakdown. Russell's breakdown.
I
like your breakdowns.
Cyrus K's thing there.
He always forgets to do it at the
Every
end.
time.
Yeah.
Every time.
I don't think that bit should be there. All right, so I've got one on the back of a birthday card, and I've got my phone here, so I can do them all of them. Okay, so let's get to the heart of the matter. Chelsea versus Southampton. Tuchel got a yellow card. Now, did Guardiola get a yellow card? There was a lot of yellow cards for managers this week.
Yeah, I don't know if Guardiola got one or not. He
certainly got very cross.
Based upon Tuchel's reaction, I thought Guardiola should have definitely got one because he was extremely angry, wasn't he? I've never seen Guardiola like that. I mean, and he gets very animated, doesn't he? But he was particularly animated in this game.
How do you think you'd be if you was that near to him? Would you sort of if you were on the City bench, you're the assistant coach, or you're the physio, or you're just the kit man, or whatever your job is? Do you think you would just join in with that anger a bit?
Yeah, I think you'd have to. I would feel so loyal to Guardiola. I think he seems to have that presence about him anyway.
Yeah, I'd be loyal.
Who was it? True Geordie last week we were talking to, and he was talking about the Football Manager and the idea of them as a leader, and that they inspire people around them to feel confident in the direction of the club and the way that they play. And Guardiola seems, I guess, I mean, obviously this has been said before, like Klopp as well, is they have a quality about them that does inspire. And I think if I was his assistant manager,
join him in the anger.
I'd absolutely go for it.
Under no circumstances would you go, chill out, mate.
Calm down, mate.
Don't matter really, does it? We've still got our lives to live.
No.
We willingly enter into the illusion that this is what's important. And Guardiola he's the witch doctor. He's the chief. We've got to follow him. He's conjuring up that energy.
Yes.
You want to see that because sometimes when fans complain, you don't seem too animated on the touchdowns. Something people don't like.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Fans love that in a manager. Although you do often see that, don't you, that the assistants and the team stay pretty calm and grounded. And I wonder if that's something that's
respect. not for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is a role of the leader, the person in charge. The rest are almost there to keep the calm and keep the peace, because you need stability within a team, within a club, within any organisation. You can't all behave like the CEO, can you?
It's an odd social detail to note that if everyone did the same thing, like Guardiola is permitted to do that. It's his role, it's his function, it's his personality as well. It's an authentic expression of who he is. It's not theatre, though there is a sort of a performative element to it. I would contest. I wonder if you could say whether or not people are more active on the touchline since fans came back. I bet if we were measured it, I bet if you could have them little heart monitor things on, you go, like they moved around a lot more since fact, because it's innovating, it's natural. That don't mean they're being inauthentic. But like, if every single person on the bench got up and did that, you go, what's going on at this place? They're a lot of nutters.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it I think it was last week with Villa's. I'm not sure if he is the assistant manager or not, and we talked about
sexy
the
rock person.
And there was a reaction with him certainly, but you're right. If it was more than one or two of them, it'd be too much.
I saw a great thing out, because while we were going through this week, where there's been sort of, in my opinion, undue and unfair criticism in the media, right, of old Russ and let's face it, you, Gal, because many of these things are your ideas.
By proxy,
I just want to point that out. If the FBI are planning to kill us, if you kill Gal, our video content and quality would change, and then you could still have me. Although this podcast will go. Look, I don't want to tell the FBI how to do their jobs. So what? And it's be the CIA probably anyway. Or MI5, but or some other agency. It's funny because my mate was reading. I goes, "Oh, that's not bad. That's in this piece here. This piece here. Oh, look, the Birmingham Post. Russell Brand talks about
Aston Villa's assistant manager.
That's really made me feel happy.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's the sort of news I like.
Yeah, I like that they create an article out of that.
Do you know who he is now yet?
I can't remember his name. But I know that he's like a well-travelled...
Because he's doing the Guardiola pumpy jumps.
Yeah, for Dean Smith.
Dean Smith's like, right, when you come on, I'll be much more calm for presence. Look at my jumper, look at my haircut.
Yeah.
Right? You, though, son, this is all you can go for. We've got JT, John Terry, gone now.
He's gone.
It's you. You from Foo Fighters. Express yourself as only you can. He's embraced it, hasn't he?
He really has.
That mystery, gorgeous fella. How would you get my point is, for my breakdown is, how would you get a second yellow card? I mean, that is just so ridiculous. Like, the yellow card, this is what my point is. You can't map the yellow-red card system onto that.
No.
Because it's not the same thing. You're in a game, in the heat of a game, you're playing, you're in challenges. Oh, don't do that again. That's against the rules of the game. The rules of the game have been on the touchline. It's much more nuanced and social. It's like, oi, you was offside, or you can't do that, your elbow was high. Do you know what I mean? To monitor it using the same system of penalties is weird. It's like you could really use it for anything, like in a marriage. Yellow card, red card, that's adultery. Right, it's a free match ban. You can't use it.
No.
It's not transferable policy.
No, the laws are different, completely different.
It's a different situation.
Yeah. I mean, it's always a bit daft when you hear about managers getting yellow cards and red cards and then sent to the stands.
What difference does it make?
When they say,
move further away.
Yeah, exactly. Move a few metres back. Yeah. It's so stupid. And then you see some managers, like, they have little earpieces and then they'll talk to their assistant manager. I mean, it's farcical, really.
I've seen them with phones in the old days. Because, when we watched those football nostalgia documentaries that we were obsessed with, let's face it.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
Like they would do a phone call. It's just weird, because if you're sent off and you're a participant in the game, that's the deficit of that player is an obvious thing. If you're sent off and you were just stood there, it's a gesture.
Yeah.
You go and sit over there. It's like putting them on a naughty step.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You might as well go, right, if your table manners are not right. I mean, I think it's, why not give them a purple card and say, for the purple card, you've got to pull your pants down. Show everyone your bum. You've got to. That's the purple card. You've got to respect it. It's our proudest tradition. So that's my perspective on that.
I think it's a good perspective, yeah.
Thanks. We got somewhere.
Ludicrous.
Ward-Prowse done a foul on Jorginho.
Yeah, Jorginho, yeah.
Jorginho. And Jorginho went into, our friend I've not spoken to for ages, actually, Noel Gallagher, has been campaigning against the knee slide. It's had quite a lot of traction.
Oh, yeah.
It's been talked about on Talk Sport and all that. Well, when Ward-Prowse done the foul on Jorginho sort of went into a knee slide and also a yoga move called the camel in response, because he was sort of on his way down anyway.
Yeah.
And he sort of like went back, and I thought, you're doing a knee slide, not as a celebration, but as a kind of a...
You've recontextualised it.
You've recontextualised it. You've collapsed into a knee slide.
Yeah. Maybe because the knee slide has become so... Ubiquitous within football celebrations.
That's what I think Noel's problem is, and he says it's damaging the grass.
I'd agree with Noel. I mean, I think we've discussed it before. Like, not only does it feel like, all right, lads, come up with something new now, but I would worry about the injuries.
I can't believe people can do it. My daughter did it the other day.
Did she?
I don't even know what she said. She did it pretty good. We've heard it was much more rock and roll, because actually Joan Jett was playing I Love Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
She slid along. It was bloody good.
So is this a celebration reserved for the youth?
You've got to have good knees, I think.
You've got to have good knees.
At least. And I like the number of things. Like, so, you know, when I used to watch Jackass, I used to think, if I did any one of them things, I'd die, I think.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they sort of just come down the stairs on a skateboard or whatever. I think, like, if I come down the stairs on a skateboard, it wouldn't be like, right now, let's put some bees up our bum. It would be like, can you take me to the hospital? Because I've broken my ankle, my knee, my collarbone. I need to speak to a therapist about what the trauma of that.
The bees up the bum's going to have to wait till next week.
Do that next week's show. Get Steve-O to do it. He's better at this anyway. He's got a brilliant sort of puckish vibe. He's got that rasping voice.
But isn't it that thing... Oh, no, I'm no scientist.
You're kidding. You won't know it from your videos.
But this is a kind of psychological thing, isn't it? Of like those Jackass things. If you put any thought into what you're actually doing, you wouldn't do it, because as soon as you did, you'd break something. Yeah. But it's that lack of thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
That it's like what they often has often been said about people, and I'm not endorsing getting drunk, but yeah, when people have been drunk and done things like fall off balconies, that they haven't hurt themselves, and that's because in the...
Are you saying... Drink alcohol,
yep.
It gives you a superpower and the ability to safely plunge from a balcony without any injuries?
I think I am saying
that's
that.
your message, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's weird because you're all relaxed.
Yes.
It's like if you you're best to just relax. If you find yourself tumbling from a balcony, relax. Even if you've not had a drink, just go, oh well, fall off a balcony now. Here it is. I knew this would happen one day.
Yeah.
Just relax and clatter into this paving below.
Yeah, and I'll be fine.
I'll be all right. I always bounce back. not tested it in the balcony situation before, but
yeah. So I think that's what's truly behind the old knee celebration.
They don't care; they're free.
Yeah.
All right. 2 goals didn't in Chelsea v Southampton, which is still the game I'm breaking down.
Yeah, interesting choice.
I'm doing it in the order of match of the day's order determines my order.
Fine.
I don't mess with the canon.
That's okay.
You know. Even though I could do this birthday card one if I wanted, I've got my own sort of system.
It's funny because there's a picture of a dog on the other side.
Jack Russell.
It's like looking at me.
He's a lovely little guy. 2 goals didn't stay in the net. They bounced back out.
They did.
And 2 goals was disallowed.
Yeah.
So that's 4 goals happened, and like 2
didn't
stayed
really
in the net,
happen,
and they didn't matter. So what's real? 2 goals went in, but they come back out again, and they were goals. 2 went in, stayed in, but they weren't goals.
That's a great observation, Ross.
Right. See, that's what you get here.
I feel like you could take this further, but I don't know if you will.
Well, I could take. It just shows you the particularities. You know, I love it when they show that goal line thing, don't you? When they go, there you are, see, whoop,
I love it.
Did go all the way over.
Yeah, especially
when actually West Ham conceded one like that. I think that Brentford one.
Well, both of them were so close. I mean, it was so close. It was like fractions of millimeters. It was incredible to see. But what I like is how quickly the referees know that, almost like they've got superhuman powers.
Did
like
someone say it in their lugs?
It must be like something, or a noise goes off in their ears or something.
Yeah, I think that must be it. All right, next game to break down. United v Everton.
Yeah.
Townsend did that celebration.
Yes, he did.
Some people wonder if it antagonised Ronaldo.
This was the thing, wasn't it? And I heard him on Talk Sport as well, and he maintains that this was a celebration of Ronaldo because Ronaldo is apparently his hero and inspiration. But I think a lot of people are like, he was taking the, with that.
Yeah.
That was I can go one better than Ronaldo in this game.
Yeah, he's got an interesting vibe, Townsend.
I like him. He's very, very confident.
He's sort of quite chatty. He's quite a vibrant sort of bloke, isn't he? Got a lot going on.
Yeah, he is. He's been a fantastic signing for Everton.
He's been incredible.
Yeah, because he's their top scorer now.
And that goal, I think that I can't remember. Like he scored a goal. I don't know. It was in the golden month
against Burnley. It was amazing.
Unbelievable.
It was amazing. But he's done that before. He's a great player, and he's banging form, and he's got so much confidence at the moment. And that goal he scored against United was on his weaker foot as well. That's not even his favoured foot. It was a great finish.
That's his least favourite foot.
Yeah, and the celebration he did wasn't as good as Ronaldo, that was it?
It seems that celebration is a bit harder to do than you would think. You've got to plant your feet.
Because it was almost like you would almost go, was that meant to be?
Well, you're meant to be doing that. It's like he fell over. Yes, Jenny May.
Dean Ashton's in the waiting room.
Dean Ashton's already here. Dean Ashton of West Ham and Noriwch is joining us.
Can I let him
in? Yeah, you must.
Okay.
Oh, are we doing it already?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, look, it's
I haven't done my breakdown of Dean Ashton.
We'll have to do it. We'll have to do it together. Wow, Dean Ashton. All right, mate. Can you hear us, Dean?
How are you, okay?
Yeah, brilliant. Dean, thanks for joining us. It's me, Russell. As you can see, I'm a West Ham fan. And look, there's Gareth. We do the podcast together. He's a Hull fan.
Hey, Dean.
Hi, Gareth. How are you?
Great. Nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you.
We both love you.
And you.
Like, I love you a lot because of West Ham. I think you're an amazing player. I've said Dino before. I never started it. I'm not that. When I'm a fan, I'm never confident enough to start a chant, but I will join in if others chant. I have the similar attitude at orgies. Now, you've. I've been listening on Talk Sport and that kind of stuff. I don't say Dino. I don't go orgies. You're good on Talk Sport, mate.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I've it took me a while after finishing to really get into that media side and learn, who I'm going to be within the media, and I feel like I'm a lot more confident now and enjoying it, which hopefully that comes across.
You do seem like you're enjoying it, and you're confident. You don't mind, I suppose the thing that you want to avoid as a pundit is banality, everything you said, it's a sort of a cliche. It's very difficult not to talk in cliches when you're under the pressure of media. But then you've got a sort of a loyalty to players. You've got the responsibility that comes with being broadcast. It must be pretty challenging. How, the biggest thing I suppose to talk about with you, right? Because as a West Ham fan, is I know that you got that injury when you were training with England and that, and are you able? Is it something you're able to talk about now? Are you sort of emotionally and psychologically healed from your knee injury?
Yes, I think it took a while, that's for sure. But I think most people, when they speak to me, expect me to maybe talk about how depressed I was, how I must have gone through incredibly tough times, how the questions of why me must run deep through myself, and it's funny. I didn't really have that, and I know that sounds strange. I never got into a seriously dark place with it all. I felt like I had a really good grasp on what reality is, because football's not a reality by any stretch of the imagination. It is a fantasy wonderland that I was lucky enough to be part of, and I think the only thing I'd say that I really struggled with was bitterness. Was bitterness towards the game, was bitterness towards other players that got to have a full career. Why, the bitterness of seeing other players that I felt were, and other players that I knew that didn't enjoy football the way I love football and just saw it as a job, whereas I saw it as what it was this fantasy world that you could only dream of as a kid. To then be part of that was wonderful, but I was very quick to get myself out of that fantasy and back into reality, which is I guess was a strength of mine mentally to be able to do that, and something I think I'm probably very fortunate to have been able to do that. Where I know lots of other players that I know have struggled deeply with having to finish just regularly at the end of their career when their time is up, not finishing early.
Something like that. It must make just listening to you talk, Dean. It makes me feel that there is an important psychological journey that has to be undertaken that are sort of outside of the skill set of football and in the realm of coping with life. What you said there about football being a fantasy, curiously enough, we were just sort of talking about that. We were talking about it with regard to when if you're having an argument about another football club or saying, I think Arsenal fans this, or I think Spurs fans that, or I think Watford fans, whatever, it's not real. They're like, you recognize that you're entering into a sort of a game, a kind of play. That at any point, like as a fan, you have to regularly do this. Like I have to go every time West Ham lose. If I've been invested in the game, I have to go, oh yeah, that's not real. It's not my actual life. I just get on with my life now. And sometimes it's quite painful. Like even that, when Mark Noble missed that penalty against United the other week, that was the sort of the most recent time that I've sort of felt it. And then, and I imagine as a player that you had to, in order to function, and perhaps this is a sort of a broader spiritual metaphor, that you have to live your life as if it is real. Because from a spiritual perspective, they would say that not only is football a fantasy, our whole life is a kind of, there's a second reality. The ultimate reality is the reality of who you are in your heart, of whether or not you're carrying love in yourself. But in order to participate well in football or well in life, you have to invest the game with a genuine passion. But sometimes that passion becomes so real. I've as you say, whether you end your career early or end your career when you were supposed to, and like that in itself brings up some important points. What is an expectation? What right do we have to an expectation? It makes a demand of you. You have to transfer from one state to the other. I'm very surprised that you're able to do that without some sort of specific training. Have you sort of? Are you a person that is in psychotherapy, spirituality, meditation, and do you apply those principles of what seemed to me like you're talking about acceptance around like that injury elsewhere in your life?
I'm not, if I'm honest, but I think those are the people that know me. I am very level a lot of the time. My highs aren't that high and my lows certainly aren't that low. I think that's just my personality. That's the way I am. I guess that's the way I was brought up. I think you make an interesting point about a fan's perspective, because I think there's sometimes I think fans struggle to see, that how much it should mean to a player, how much it should mean to a player to be a footballer. I think sometimes the fans can't see that and relate to their feelings of how actually they feel about their football club, and then don't see it from the players. But you're right, because a player, it becomes a normality. It becomes a job. It's not when you're a child and you love the game and you're obsessed with it. I think when you become certainly a high level Premier League footballer, and it becomes your job. You're going in every day playing football, trying to improve, but it's a job for everyone. And I think I've found that since I've finished, is how a fan's mentality is very different to a player's. But no, I guess it's always that grasp on reality, or what I perceive as reality for me in terms of what's important to me, that has helped me sort of continue with other things in my career, have a great family life, be proud, and to be able to look back on a career, and actually fortunate that I even got to experience the things I got to experience, because there's lots of my friends that were desperate to do the same that never got that opportunity. So I think that's kind of where my head's always been at.
These are the things that are coming into my mind, and I'm just going to say those things, Dean Ashton. You look quite hard. Do you do like MMA or anything like that? You look like you've stayed quite fit. You also look like you could be you cope well in a military situation. Also, you were a very sort of physical, sort of Alan Shearer style centre forward, like you were like a presence like that as a player. Here's all the questions I relate to that. Do you do any fighting or MMA stuff? Are you quite hard? Do you have a lot of fights? When was the last time you had one? And do you play football at all for fun these days?
So I think I'm lucky I look hard, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I am, if I'm honest, Russell. I think I've never had a fight. I've never hit anyone, and no one other than my brother has ever hit me. So I wouldn't have a clue. That's not me saying if there's anyone out there wants to kid me. Go. Yeah. But obviously I'm a big unit, so I'm probably not somebody that maybe anyone would particularly want to pick a fight with. But no, I'm a big softie really when it comes to it. I would always avoid, when I was a player, I was always very wary of, when I was out and about, situations where I felt and knew and I could sense that the crowd that were looking at us as players wasn't the right crowd. This was time to move on. I don't want to be involved in certainly any scuffles, and so I've always felt like that. I've always tried to stay away from anything like that. And in terms of playing football, I am now basically a Peter Schmeichel doppelganger in my garden for my kids. I did try and play a few times, five-a-sides, charity games, but to be honest, it would leave not my injury any troubles. It would be the rest of my body, that because I hadn't been playing football, my back would be terrible for 2 or 3 weeks. And also, when I used to go to things, people think that 2006 me are turning up, and actually the reality is it's 2021 me, who is 3 stone heavier, wow, not very good, and hasn't kicked a ball for ages. So I was finding that hard as well, that the expectation of people when I was turning up wasn't quite what they thought.
That's pretty surprising that it's to sustain that level requires continual training, and if you don't sustain it, whether it's age or lack of training, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just ta-da, and you're a footballer. It's something that has to be continually sculpted, and like outside of that reality, it becomes sort of quite punitive. Now, I'm going to hand over to Gareth now, because what Gareth does, I've noticed in our interviews when we've had David Seaman come on, we did a great interview with him, Bobby Zamora come on here. Gareth's interview technique is better. He's done some research. Obviously, I want to know things about what it felt like to be like a West Ham player. I want to know things like what's your favourite goal. I want to know sort of inside gossip from the dressing room without crossing any boundaries, which obviously you would take care of because you're a highly astute individual. But make sure, Gareth, you set up the questions correctly so that the listeners will know what you're talking about. If you are something quite esoteric about Dean's early life in Norwich or growing up evidently up north, then let me,
Sure thing. All right, I'll try and keep this easy. No, Dean, I was going to talk about, obviously, Ross mentioned up top about the injuries situation, and looking through your career, you still, I imagine, must consider that you had lots of highs within that. I mean, just looking through it, top scorer before, record signing for Norwich, scoring in an FA Cup final. And I just wondered when it came to England, because I know a lot of players, when you talk about England, it's the kind of pinnacle of their career that when they look back. And obviously, I imagine maybe in your mind there's a kind of conflict around what England represents to you and getting that cap. And I just thought, when you finally got that cap, which I believe was 2 years after you were first called up due to the injuries, how important was that to you, and how important does that remain to you? Or is it not something, I mean, with your question answer to Russell at the beginning about kind of living in reality, does that England cap maybe not represent what it does to, or what a lot of other players might say it does? How meaningful is it to you?
It's still very meaningful because it was ultimately a dream I had as a kid, and to fulfill that dream of something you've thought about for years and years when you were so young, and actually got you into football in the first place, which was Italia 90, watching Lineker score against Germany. That's what got me into football. That was a dream that I managed to achieve. So it is very, very special. I think on top of that, having done it after the disappointment of breaking my ankle the day before I was meant to make my England debut, and then to come back from what was a difficult injury, lots of rehab, lots of hard times in that sense, to then, eventually make it back, having been not the same player at all and had to change who I was as a player to still be able to get to the level that required or that got an England cap. I think I'm incredibly, incredibly proud of. And again, I think it was only recently, wasn't it, that they talked about what number you were as an England player. There'd been, I think, around 1,600 England players in men's football anyway in history. And suddenly just that sort of dawns on you, well, I'm one of those. There's not been many of us that have been given that opportunity. So again, when I look at it in that sense, I think it means a lot to me.
And I guess it's not just, as you say, not just representative of your abilities, but it's representative of a mindset of yours to kind of come back from the issues that you had and still make it into the England squad and get your cap. That, I guess, you must be able to look back at that and feel kind of very proud of your ability to do that and what it kind of says about your character. I
guess so, yeah. I've probably never really thought about it in that sense of I guess, the character to come back and do it. And I was doing something I loved, that I was passionate about. So to me, coming back from the injury was all part of it, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get back to doing the thing that I love the most. So it was never a hard task in my eyes in terms of just putting the work in. It was just more a case of, was I ever going to be able to be good enough again to get to that level? So it was maybe losing a little bit of that belief would have been the only issue. But again, I think with how competitive certainly English football is, to get into that England squad again, I think shows a great level that I got to.
I stopped caring about England unless it's not a tour. When there's a tournament, I sort of slowly become seduced into it. I don't like qualifiers, I don't like friendlies. But then I do get sort of pulled back into it, and that's why I've had so few caps, I think, because of that. I've never really realised my full potential. Dean, what's your favourite West Ham memories? What's your favourite West Ham goal? Who is your favourite other West Ham player? What moments do you remember with fans?
I think in terms of, I'll start with the fans, because when I signed for West Ham, I'll be honest, I didn't necessarily know the full history of the club or how big of exactly, and just how massive a football club it was. And I think coming from a team like Norwich and their support to a team like West Ham was such a big jump. And what I didn't realise was, everywhere I went, anywhere in the world, West Ham fans would want to talk to me and have a vested interest in wherever we were, on holiday or anywhere, to talk about West Ham. And it made me realise how big the club was. I think that's the biggest thing I noticed about the West Ham fans, is they're everywhere. And it's great because they want to talk about their club and they're honest, which I don't mind. So they told me if I was crap, or they told me if I was great. And I kind of love that about the West Ham supporters. In terms of my favourite goal, there are two, really, for two very different reasons. One is to score an overhead kick, I think, at Old Trafford for West Ham. I think was special when you had the likes of Ronaldo, Tevez, Rooney, Rio Ferdinand on the pitch. I think to do that was special. And one that wasn't even an actual, professional game as such, which was Mark Noble's testimonial, because I think I never really got the opportunity, as with a lot of things that end very quickly. You don't have that opportunity to say thank you, to see supporters properly again, to be able to go back to Upton Park with a full West Ham crowd, no away support, just a full West Ham crowd. My kids had never seen me play football, obviously. So they knew I played football, but didn't get it as such, didn't understand what it meant to have been a sort of Premier League footballer and play for West Ham. So to be able to score that overhead kick in that testimonial and hear the roar and see my family and my kids cry because they realised that's actually what Dad was, that is just something, again, that's just something I couldn't have dreamed of once I'd finished. I thought there's not going to be them opportunities ever again to soak in what is the best thing in the world ever, which is scoring a goal.
Well, that's really lovely. That's beautiful, because there's some things I want to ask about parenting off the back of that. For example, I'm always trying to impress upon my children, look, I'm important and famous. Do what I say. They're not interested. They don't seem to appreciate the concept. It doesn't matter if I show them cartoons I've been in, like, Despicable Me or whatever. It's hard to leverage your elite skill set in the realm of parenting, isn't it? How old are your kids?
They're now 14 and 11, so it's a little bit easier as they get older. But you're right. I used to try and say when they started playing football, when they were sort of 7, 8, 9, and try and tell them things, and they wouldn't believe me when I would say, well, I did this and I played against Ronaldo, and they'd laugh. They would laugh at me. And just like,
be quiet, there you haven't.
So that, to be able to do that was great. But I think you're right. I think they see you as Dad, don't they? So that's fine by me as well.
I'm trying to encourage mine not to see me as Dad, but as an important abstract figure worthy of. No, it's beautiful, of course. Hey, who we off like sort of best mates and like around the club and in the squad and that?
think again, I felt really fortunate that actually we had an unbelievable squad at West Ham when I got there. Should I say? It was such a British-based squad, and I'm certainly not having to go at the players that weren't from the British Isles, because they were great as well. But it just had a great feel about it. All the lads seemed to get on pretty well. I knew Nigel Reo-Coker and Carlton Cole from sort of England youth levels. You know, I got on great with the likes of Ginge and Gabs. And I loved being part of that squad. Pardew was like the sort of Pied Piper of that team. And as a striker, Pardew was exactly the type of manager I wanted to play for. You know, he wanted attacking football. He wanted flair. He wanted you to enjoy your life on and off the pitch. He wanted the whole group to, if you're going to go and do things, he wanted the whole group to go and do it. He had a real sort of sense of enjoyment, maybe a little bit too much. I remember one pre-season we turned up, I think it was after the FA Cup final, that next pre-season, I think we went to Sweden, and we got to the hotel, and right outside was a beer festival. And I thought, that, with this group of players, that is not going to work. That is really not going to work. So obviously, when the lads decided to go out, Pardew was already there with backroom staff. And I thought this might not work. And lo and behold, I think when things got difficult, then he didn't quite have the voice to then turn around and have a go at players, because he obviously got on well with so many of the players. But I loved it. I loved every minute of being at that football club with the group of players that they had.
Yeah.
And it was just it was a special time to be a player, and a special time in terms of, I think what players probably go through now, that was still a great time where you could enjoy yourself still and be professional, without maybe getting the criticism that you would certainly get now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I suppose one of the things I get from speaking to professional footballers is the idea that you have to occupy these different worlds, that the fans project things onto you that you cannot fully embody because you've got a whole different set of responsibilities. Then you're a human being and you've got like the flaws, frailties and requirements that come with that. It's like it's an interesting place to have to sort of survive. I'm amazed that more people don't go crazy under that kind of pressure, to be honest. And I sort of think that sometimes I'm always curious about which people's mentality prevented them getting further. Like, you know, I always feel like, and I wouldn't expect you to comment on this, that just from the demographic, like then because it's all young men, I think, God, there must be a lot of people that are having drink and drug problems that they can't really talk about, and mental health problems that they can't really talk about. There's so many sort of factors to operate in a space that gets so much attention and that is the subject to so much devotion and love, that I suppose perhaps the only way to cope with it is by sort of focusing actually on what your job is, because otherwise it would be unbearable, I suppose. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. I'm sure you've experienced it as well, and that's the sort of the fantasy world I try and think about when I think about football, is that it's not a reality that, you know, grown adults come up to you and lose it as if like you're something that's just dropped from the heavens and aren't a normal person that does everything else that they do, but actually I'm just really good at kicking a white ball around a pitch. You know, that the way people react to you, the way you're treated, the way that, you know, everything is done for you when you're a footballer. You don't organise a hotel or a taxi or a nightclub. It's just all done for you. Your food's cooked for you. Your washing's done for you. You don't have to do anything as a player. And so then, yeah, I think it's that time when that you have so much time as a player when you're just sitting around at home, and that's where I think some players, and certainly young players that are coming through, that's where they can't cope. They have to be doing something. They get themselves into, like you say, gambling, drinking, things to occupy themselves, and that's where they can get themselves into trouble. Luckily, I was just really boring,
Dean, you're amazing. Thank you so much for coming on our show, mate, and sharing your time and your insight and your easy, garrulous warmth. I wish you every success going forward in, like, I'm assuming you're going to be doing more punditry and stuff like that. Is that what you're going to do?
It is, yeah. I love that side of it. Being at the live games, that's what it's all about for me. Taking in the atmosphere now the fans are back. So yeah, I'll be doing plenty more of that as long as people will hire me and pay me.
I'm sure they will continue to, mate. You're a brilliant presence. Thank you. And as I say, almost a very beautiful looking person. Lovely set of railings. Fantastic bone structure. Yeah, don't rule out the modelling, is what I would say as well.
Don't be that.
Thanks, Dean. Sorry for saying that you were from the north. I looked at you from Swindon. I apologise for that. No one likes to be accused of being northern unnecessarily.
No, thanks, honestly. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your insight, mate. Thank you. It's been valuable. Cheers, man.
Thanks,
Take it easy.
Cheers.
See you, Dean.
Thanks,
Dino. There he is, Dean Ashton. That was good.
Oh, what a lovely man. What an incredibly grounded man.
So grounded. People are so grounded, aren't they?
Well,
Are they?
no, not everyone is. I mean, he seems
Some people ain't
particularly
grounded.
so. In a way that, a little bit like Ben Foster, in that there's, I guess what he was talking about there was his ability to detach himself from the fantasy of the game. That's something that Ben Foster, speaking to him the week before last, seems to have done whilst he's in the game, but certainly doesn't seem to be the norm. And I think psychologically, I think that must be if you're not of a certain type of mentality, and I know he said at the end that he's boring, but maybe what he means by boring is he's stable. He has a kind of control over himself, and I think that must be a huge advantage as a player, and certainly as a former player.
Yeah, I don't think you could consistently survive without it. Perhaps, I don't know what I mean. I wonder when I think about sort of the players who have occupied my mind most, even outside of West Ham. When I think of someone like, say, Steven Gerrard, I reckon there are probably some players that have an additional edge.
Yeah.
Like, I reckon I bet the requirements alter as you sort of move through the various strata. And of course there will be variation in that. Say like someone like Gary Lineker seems like a very stable man, doesn't he? Seems like he was not someone that's erratic or a bit crazy, or I think that's at least how he seems. Shearer as well.
Exactly.
But I tell you this, like Shearer, I think has an additional edge of something, even over another elite striker like Lineker. Shearer's got some sort of what do I want to say, sort of a mercenary killer instinct, you'd almost say.
Yeah, you would. That if you stuck them in the army or something, or
that's what I think, is that you could. Where else would these skill sets? Where would you thrive? Like Shearer in the army, he's going to do well. Beardsley in the Gazza in the army.
No,
I don't know why we use it or draw the icons there. But like, it's interesting. It's really fascinating to watch their characters, and it's interesting to get an insight into their mindsets.
Yeah, and also for me, the Pardew story was great, because it's that we've talked about it before on this show, but that relationship between players and managers, and we mentioned it at the start as well, that it's when he was saying that the players responded to Pardew and played for him because he encouraged a certain type of football and a certain kind of camaraderie within the group, but when things got tough, then he was no longer able to use that skill set because it was no longer kind of applicable or relevant, because now it wasn't about getting players on side or kind of selling them a certain style of football. It was about addressing problems, and at that stage, Pardew, it was done. There was no way back for him, because they were like, "Well, hang on, you were out with us drinking, so it's not our fault that we're not concentrating enough on the game."
You're
or whatever.
all drunk, as am I. But yeah, it's really a fascinating role. I guess I suppose it's the role that fascinates me most, because footballers, it's niche. Let's face it. Like when you're an elite athlete, like how do you do that? Unless you're yourself a keen amateur player, then you'll be interested in emulating and learning from the greats how to pull off a Cruyff turn or a perfect sliding tackle. But for me it's abstract spectacle that I'm observing. The thing that's most applicable is the psychological components, and where the psychological component is most evident is in the strategies and insights of a manager, because they're dealing with stuff like, how do you deal with pressure? How do you deal with disappointment? How do you deal with fear? Like all things that, and how do you manage success, sustain success? These are all applicable more widely.
Yeah, it's so complex and interesting. When he was talking about the kind of realm of the fantasy world and the reality world, I was thinking as he was talking that really the role of the manager is almost, or successful manager is almost having a shoe in both camps, or whatever that
you've got. Foot in both worlds, or whatever.
Because you have to be able to encompass both. You can't completely detach from the fantasy of football about what it means, because then you must not. You can't inspire in the way.
We lost 3-0, but actually, I've been thinking about it. It doesn't matter because compared to what's happening in the Yemen, this is actually meaningless. Or, for example, if you found out that much loved family member was sick, my much loved family member, once they're actually scattered on this fucking pitch, you better saw your shit. No, yeah, it's weird. You couldn't be totally detached. But then if you're so immersed, Keegan, then you're not able to have the distance. It's man.
Absolutely.
It's a
complex role.
Deal.
I saw an interview with, you will have seen it, Steve Bruce afterwards, losing at the weekend, and one of their questions was, because he's managed 1,000 games or 999 games.
Yeah,
and
999 emergency is what I would have thought the headline.
Oh, that would have been good.
999 emergency. If I was right out at one of them Newcastle newspapers that gives poor Steve Bruce a good kicking, I'd say 999 emergency.
Yeah, that would have been good, Ross.
Thanks.
Really good.
Do I get the job at the Tyneside reporter?
Gazette, no. But yeah, I think the response he gave was that like being long in the tooth is part of his ability to cope with this, like experience.
He's looked well addled though, mate.
He did.
It made me feel like. It's like, say if you go when you're a little kid and you go around to someone's house, and then later on when you're an adult you find out the parents was going to get divorced, or they didn't like each other or whatever, or whatever. Like it felt like that. The atmosphere of a pressured dad.
Yeah, it did.
I felt like I thought, oh no, I wouldn't. I don't want to see such suffering in this
No,
world.
and I heard some things this week about Bruce, about, I can't remember who it was, but they were saying that there was a game recently where the ball, went out and Steve Bruce just picked it up to give it to a player and got booed when he picked it up, from his own fans. And I thought, it wasn't before game, after the game, anything to do with tactics. It was just Steve Bruce's essence was just in that moment.
Mike Ashley maybe is a genius because it's like he's employed someone that's like a sort of a focal point for anger, whereas Rafa, having someone in, they'll think, oh, we like this bloke. He's brilliant.
Yeah, especially when
the anger can be seated nicely.
We did go through this last week, and obviously, I would not, as a Newcastle fan, they're the people who know their club, and they're the people who.
You better make that clear if you don't want a little negative tweet.
Exactly, but it is from an outsider who just looks at results. I mean, obviously not this season, but in previous seasons, Bruce's and Benitez's records aren't that different, and so it is difficult when Bruce has got that face.
If True Geordie were in now,
I know he'd rip me apart.
He'd be so unhappy about you saying that, mate. He'd be so happy. I remember now. What I regret is like when I told you this about when Glenn Roeder was like sort of when West Ham went down and stuff. And I told you that moment, right? Roeder, you've killed West Ham, and I thought that can't be helping. And then later, when the poor Glenn Roeder sadly, of course, died. But like I remember at the time, I didn't feel like. I did it somewhere in my mind, think this is a human being. He's doing his best. He knows a lot more about football than you ever will. Shut up.
No, you detach.
Russell.
I mean, that's the point of being a fan, isn't it? Is that it allows you to detach. It allows you to enter into the world of fantasy, and you can kind of, a bit like I guess they say with online comments and stuff, is you can be whoever you want to be, and if that version of you want to be. Is
actually, I've just realised something important.
Go on, mate.
And it's deep. Like the whole point of football is to permit those projections. So you can't start rationalising it, because otherwise football will no longer be fulfilling its social and cultural function as a kind of avatar or mandala or focal unit for people's unprocessed emotions, whether they are joy or rage. That's what it's doing. So if you can't say, you can't suddenly go, no, hold on a minute, Steve Bruce trying his best. No, that's the point, is like that people are going to catharsize their anger from elsewhere in their life, or the legitimacy of the anger about the team. It's only legitimate in that context, but the context is an access point for your own emotion. The most obvious.
There's no point trying to apply the rational to the irrational.
Otherwise, the whole experience, you just sit there calmly in your seat and just go, "That was a perfectly executed pass."
Yep.
Oh, what's the point? Like, it wouldn't make sense. It's a point of it is it's a medicinal, ceremonial, powerful anthropological experience that people are going through. So, that's why. Hooliganism and all that. How do you keep it within those lines? Occasionally, it breaches out into socially unacceptable because it comes out of its own context and into the broader social context.
They're very thin lines, aren't they? That we're walking within a very
shouting,
tribal sport.
Racist stuff, violent stuff, homophobic stuff. Because you're churning up.
In society, we all have to. Obviously, there are points that we all have to stick to. There are paths that we all have to follow to an extent. But these are existing within the context of extreme emotions, and as you say, a kind of legitimized fantasy version of yourself. So that then those roads are harder to stick to. I mean, sorry.
Stop crying. E.T. actually isn't ill. In fact, there's no such thing as E.T. E.T.'s not gone to his home planet because there is no E.T. Oh, sorry, I got into it. Yes, no, Elliot, that little boy's an actor. It's like we're entering into the whole thing.
Yeah.
I got a bit more breakdown.
Mate, let's get back to some breakdown.
Wolves v Newcastle. Maximan is basically a mummy now. He's got things around his wrists. He's got something around his head. What's next? He's like the invisible Maxima.
That's excellent.
Thank you. Then I've got that Bruce Emergency 999, but we've already done that.
Oh, that was prepared.
Well, I've noticed it. I've written it down. Jose Sarr is even more homeless looking than De Gea. Like, is that the Newcastle or is it the Wolves goalkeeper? Because I wasn't concentrating.
The Wolves.
Yeah,
you're right. He does. He looks like he's been on an all-nighter, doesn't it? It's a strange look.
Yeah, what's everyone doing? Oh yeah, and then Steve Bruce. It's like being around an adult's house when they're getting a divorce. That's my. It'd be really good if when in Match Today they went back to the studio and they went, well, what do you think, Alan? And then it's clips because remember I've been on Match Today and it's quite hard because it's right hard. You have to commentate. Then they play this VT and then you got to go. What you're saying has to match it. What I said didn't. If you ever watched that Match Today I was on, it's like Rooney scored that goal from the halfway line. It was West Ham versus Man U. And I was like, well, so what do you think? And actually, I spoke to my dad between watching it and between the record, and he said that there was a foul before Rooney got that goal. So I focused on that. I goes, that goal should have been disallowed. But to match up is hard. So it'd be even if it went right, Alan, what do you think about this performance from Brentford? And he went, well, I think that it's like being around a divorced couple's house. What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I'll tell you what, Russell. I think the magic word is rehearsal. And being someone who has worked with you for a long time,
do those rehearsals.
that word does not exist in your vocabulary.
When I went on, I've got news for you.
Yeah.
They go, there's a rehearsal now. I goes, I thought it was all spontaneous. And they went, yeah, it is, but we kind of we prepare these bits. No, yeah, all right, I'll keep it spontaneous. What, so you're not coming down? Nope.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a good atmosphere when you do come down and sit next to Ian Islop.
Ian Islop apparently was not impressed with you, from what I heard.
I was pretty funny though.
Yeah.
And what's more, mine was spontaneous.
Isn't that when you had to go to the toilet in the middle of it?
Yeah, I did actually, because I drink a lot of water. I need the toilet quite a bit now.
He's the perfect guest.
Whether it's not rehearsing or wandering off during the record, something for everyone for your panel show. Would you take a phone call with a researcher before? No. Will you please not wear a strobing shirt? Oh, I'm going to wear a strobing one. Oh, bloody hell, I just don't be on the telly. No, I want to be on it. Pain in the arse. All right, now I've got a few more breakdowns.
Yeah.
Right, Villa.
Oh, I'm sure there's many more of them.
In Villa, yeah, plenty more of those to come. Too many players have got cop double act names. Target and Cash, cop double act.
Yeah.
Ings and Mings, cop double act. Too many cop double act names in the Villa first team.
So do you think that's a plus or a negative for Villa?
I think it's giving them an unfair advantage, Gareth, because of too many cop double acts.
Right.
Target and Cash are outside. Shit.
Right.
Ings and Mings.
And this is playing into the mind of the opposition.
The opponents. And then you've got Martinez, who does mind games anyway. Done a mind game on Fernandez. And I see
he probably came up with this.
What we will do is we will have an entire team made up of double act cop shows. Tango and Cash, for example. Ings and Mings. Okay,
Yeah.
Martinez, we'll do it.
He's the puppet master.
Yep. See, another thing. All right. Obviously, I'm disappointed that West Ham lost to Brentford.
Sure.
Last minute goal.
Last minute. I mean, what is it with West Ham and last minute goals at the moment? It's every week.
The last minute, lads. That's when to concentrate. I've noticed that. Take the previous 85 minutes. You're doing great. Relax. Enjoy yourselves.
Yeah.
Have a drink. But that last 5, you've really got to. Right.
That
Brentford.
fella did his meditation celebration again. The meditation celebration. You know, Visser, I think his name is, the Brentford forward who came on as a sub, who scored against Liverpool as well. And he did that, you know, I don't know if it is a real...
Does he sit down and put his...
yeah, he does. He sits down and does this.
What
is that, Ross?
Hold on, I know all about these things. Mudra. Mudra.
Ah.
That's a mudra.
Yeah.
He puts his...
It's a novel celebration.
I wish he... Well, look, there's plaudits for doing a non-knee slide celebration.
There you go.
But negative marks against thee for scoring against West Ham. Well,
Oh,
I
I
would have
see.
preferred it if you'd let them win the game, or
Right.
at least draw now. Brentford manager, what's his name, please? Hold on, I've got my bit of paper.
Thomas Frank.
Don't tell me. Wait a second. Quiet, Gareth.
Sorry, mate.
I'm joking. I did hear you say Thomas Frank. He's got too many gimmicks. At one point, I saw him with a pad and pen
Yeah.
on an ice bucket,
Yes, he was.
sitting on an ice bucket, pad and pen. That's too. Already, that's too many gimmicks. Not to mention the hair.
Yeah.
And then I noticed in his post-match interview, he's quite humorous, and he's got. So that's how many gimmicks now? Humorous, pad and pen, sitting on an ice bucket. That's so many different people's gimmicks are being used up there. Dean Smith, no gimmicks,
Yeah.
just the Foo Fighter. This guy, Frank, how many? Frankie Goes to Hollywood, I call him, because of all of his Hollywood-style gimmicks. Pad and pen, nice hair,
Yeah.
ice bucket.
Yeah. Well, I had down that I saw him on an ice bucket and thought, is he the new Bielsa?
Yeah.
And as a result, are Brentford staying up this season?
I think Brentford are doing really well.
They
I think
really
he's actually
are,
a very
aren't they?
good manager, and he's smart. He's got a little bit of too cool thinness.
Yeah, he
He's got a
does.
little bit of nice hair of.
He's a bit of an amalgam of all sorts of people, isn't he? He's got a bit of Klopp about him.
He's got a bit of Klopp. He's
Yeah.
got a bit of Klopp panache, a bit of too cool thinness. I mean, what? He's everything.
Yeah, he is.
He's like Lord Krishna. He's like a magical avatar. Everything is incorporated within him.
Yeah. Oh, he's doing ever so well. Did you see how small Antonio's shorts were when they came out at the beginning? So small. Like.
Do you think he's
What-
asked for small ones, or do you think that's just he's got such lovely thick thighs, big quads, lovely hamstrings?
I mean, we've mentioned this with Grealish before. There's definitely some players out there who are asking for tinier shorts.
Because look at us, right?
Yeah.
Your lovely hull kit that you've had since you were 13.
Yeah, 1990 this is.
Bless you, Jenny. Sponsored by Bonus, is it?
Yeah.
What's Bonus?
Well, Jenny actually asked me that beforehand because
you
they
don't know.
They have the arena in Hull too.
sponsored the arena
Bone-
in Hull.
And you don't know.
I don't
You're
know.
from Hull. You support Hull. You're wearing it on your shirt. You
Yeah.
don't know what it is. So that's odd, isn't it? I didn't know what. I don't know what Avco is. I mean,
No.
luckily West Ham are usually sponsored by something where it's pretty obvious what it is.
Yeah.
Dagenham Motors. Or what could that be? Dr. Martin Boots.
Yeah.
One time it was JobServe. I didn't like that era.
No.
Like being sponsored by go to the job centre. You're unemployed. You support West Ham. Go to the job centre.
I think not enough time is spent asking fans about sponsors.
Like, what do you want them?
Yeah, like, do you? Because I think with a lot of fans, it's not just about like what the ethics of that firm are, which I don't think, other than maybe gambling firms, we maybe do care a bit about. It's more just like, what do they look
What
like
do you-
on the shirt?
Yeah, make it fit nicely.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a weird thing. You don't know Bonus.
No, I think they're probably a building company or something.
I'm wearing this Admiral
Yeah, you've got a
shirt from a
lovely
long
shirt
time
on.
ago.
Yeah, so
Lovely,
that's
isn't
what
it?
West Ham 1980 FA Cup.
1980, yeah. Like so 79, 80, I suppose. But Gal, when we were talking to Dean Ashton and I saw myself, I didn't like how I looked.
Your hair is kind of caught in your headphone.
I don't like that.
What else? Is it the shirt?
I felt like I felt like I might trim my beard right down. I felt like I wish I tied my hair up, you know.
Right.
And I think the shirt pulls up to my neck, and I need to look more like a hippie wizard. Instead,
Right.
I don't know what this is anymore.
I think the collar is emphasized more than the top. So
Yeah, that's what it is. If I
It's
folded
a wide
the collar
top.
inside of
Yeah.
itself,
it's a white top and then a really burgundy, maroony
like
color.
really. And also, do you know what? I'll tell you
You'll
what
have
it
the
is.
scissors out in a minute.
The scissors to these. I'll take the scissors. Now it looks like I've got weird traps like I'm Mike Tyson because I've tucked the collar on the inside. And I think what the thing is as well is because you see either rather big football fans or young, actual, beautiful footballers playing in these tops.
Yeah.
You like it highlights your lack of, or my lack of youth in this instance.
Well, I don't know. I feel like
hurting
the
me.
last few West Ham tops have been good. I feel like potentially you were responding to the glory of Dean Ashton, who
Looked gorgeous,
didn't he?
He's gleaming.
He looked gorgeous. As we
teeth.
said, he seemed so grounded.
Did you think he's beautiful, Jen?
Yeah, he had nice teeth.
Did you fancy him?
And
or
he
did
had
you
a nice smile, especially when he turned to the side.
Oh, he was lovely. Did you fancy him or Ben Foster now?
She's into Ben Foster.
Ben,
Still
but
Ben
I
Foster?
like Dean's groundedness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you need.
But
I liked his essence.
He's not going to marry me, though.
Have you got any? Is the breakdown over?
Breakdown's done for now.
Do you want me to run through a few of my observations from the week?
Yeah, I'd love to hear your observations and anything you want to say, because I don't want you going home empty-handed or full sacked or whatever the right thing is. And remember, we've got question of the week. Klopp called Liverpool's first half performance cold chips. What's the best football analogy you've heard from a manager? We've got some responses.
We've got some
to that.
good ones.
We've got our predictions, of course, and we've got our predictions for next week. And Jenny, well done. Jenny's done some work here. Gal, have you seen this?
I made a chart.
Oh, wow.
We predict, like most football content, we do predictions for what the results will be for forthcoming games. Well, what Jenny Mayfin has done is actually create a chart that makes it easy. So I've not got about 4 or 5 different bits of paper. I'm scrambling around like a nutter trying to go, where's last week's bit of paper? Who are we playing this week?
Do you know what I'd love, Jen?
Wow.
Oh, you're asking
I'd love a league table based upon the last few weeks we've done this, just to see where we are.
Like a chart.
Yeah.
Wait, of our
our predictions.
Because it's 3 points for an exact score.
Oh, I have them in keeping.
1 point for a result. Yeah, but these have all been
They've been recorded, Jen.
recorded, Jen.
We're recording this. This isn't just us three in a room. This has been a very well reviewed, very well liked podcast.
Don't you think Garrett's doing that is a bit, because he knows he's winning?
Yeah, no, I'm winning. That's why I'm doing it. But also,
Have you gone further ahead this week?
hang on, does it cost? Well, I don't know. I haven't checked. But listen, don't we remember the best thing about Top Gear always used to be that Top Gear leaderboard.
I love that.
I used to go to TV pitches where like execs and commissioners would say, but could you incorporate something a bit like the Top Gear leaderboard? And be like, no, because you can't. It's be like saying, could you recreate TFI Friday? I know this is getting into
Which they do say.
which they do always say as well. But it's like, no, we can't, or yes, we can. And this is our Top Gear leaderboard. I know it's just Russ and me, but
Finally.
Should I be on it?
Yeah, you can join in if you want. Oh, God, what if Jenny starts winning it? No,
we couldn't have that.
we can't.
But because it's not really a leaderboard if this is 2 people.
Okay.
God, it's sexy sport. Jen, you're in.
Were you playing catch up though?
You've been
I
docked
can
points
go back
like Derby.
and guess and then
Oh yeah, should Jenny won't. All right, go back and guess the first ones, and then Jen can join. But
Okay.
don't cheat, Jen.
Can't
'cause
cheat,
otherwise it's back to sexism.
because I haven't followed anything, so I have
know
no
you
idea.
We'll include you, Jen. Sorry, we made a mistake. We want to be better. We're going to be better. All right then, mate. So will you do your content then?
Oh, content.
Gareth's content.
Well, that's a bit of pressure now.
I've got some compliments for you, man.
I loved some of the things that came out. I mean, I feel like we need to focus a bit more on the Liverpool City game, because obviously that second half was incredible. You told me to not look at any news before I watched Match of the Day, and I did that, and it was good advice because I thoroughly enjoyed it. The Salah goal was incredible. Foden was amazing. Klopp's comments. Did you see him on the touchline just shouting "Be brave"? I thought that was amazing. That was for me. That for me was everything that I like about Klopp. Was that he wasn't there yelling out "Switch to a 4-3-1-2." He was shouting "Be brave" to his players.
Yeah, it's emotions.
Oh, it's emotions. It's like when you learn. I think I've heard about him before. Is that in the second half he doesn't say, "All right, let's switch tactics." He just says, keep doing it, believe, keep doing it. And I that's what I want from a manager. I mean, obviously some tactical knowledge as well, but I thought it was fantastic. Be brave. And then the flip of that was post-match when he talked about the first half delivering cold chips, which I thought was a fantastic analogy.
Yeah, like that's a disappointment, cold chips.
Yeah, like it would be, wouldn't it? But to pick that out, like...
Especially as you're a German, and like that would be Fritz, probably, would it? Fritz!
Yeah.
Would it be Fritz, Frites?
I don't
know what that is. If only there was some way of knowing. But, like, yeah, to know chip culture, he's really bedded down into Britain, hasn't he?
Hasn't he?
Gareth, this seems like a good a time as any to compliment you. Caroline Al Shamas says, Gareth seems like he'd give really good travel advice if you want to get to the airport on a weekend and would know alternative routes for every junction on the M25, would you?
No, absolutely not.
Lindsay Beardsley says, Gareth, cool. Your eyes sparkle when you smile.
Oh,
That's nice. Alex Gain, that's a good strong hairline for a man of your age. Anela Hansen.
That's a Ben Foster.
that's just genetics.
Hansen, Gareth, you look familiar. I wonder if we dated in Dublin once upon a time, says Annalie Hansen.
Don't remember that.
Neil Morton, I'd romance his soul.
Oh.
Alex Blacknell, his laughter lines make him look like a kind soul, and I'd be hard to press to name a more skilled French hornist. These are good. Mr. Fernandez, he's clinical without being smarmy. Nick Gallagher, he has a beautiful understanding of the importance and irrelevance, or maybe relevance, of what it's like to be a genuine football fan. Well done, Nick. Melissa Marie, Gareth's voice was made for the part of Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice during the field scene. You gals know what I'm talking about. Storm Elhamoskov, Sean Connery beard. So, mate, that's some compliments.
Yeah, I just want to give
they
a
are.
little bit of context to the compliments, because this very much feels like I arrogantly demanded that our listeners say nice things about me.
Does seem like that.
It wasn't that. It was just that it was meant to be a kind of
Breathtaking.
humorous throwaway comment that I think it was True Geordie came on last week and, was very referential towards you in that, like he said, oh, I love you, you're so brilliant, I can't wait to have on our show. And at the end I just thought, yeah, well, it'd be nice to say something nice to me as well.
M25
it was called
directions.
insecurity.
M25 directions, that lady said. Someone wonders if they dated you in Dublin. Another person thinks you've got a nice beard.
I'll take all of these. Thank
But
you
you
so
want
much.
more.
No, I
It's
don't
a
want
bottomless pit. He wants more, doesn't he, Jen?
I don't
He's
want
not
more.
happy. He's ungrateful.
No.
That isn't nice.
No.
To be ungrateful.
I'm very grateful. I just kind of wanted to put a bit of
What do you
context to the
think,
whole
Jen?
thing.
Context. What does that mean?
That you wanted compliments.
Yeah,
We're
fair
jealous
enough.
of Russell's praise.
Fair point.
Here's a good diss. Like, what about this? Claire Stowe sent us this one. It's a famous quote, of course. Like saying about heavy metaphors. That Shankly said, "If everyone were playing down the bottom of the garden, I'd draw the curtains." That's a cuss.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Shankly, and he's the OG.
Oh yeah, I've got one here. Ferguson calling Aberdeen's defence a clown's pocket.
Whoa.
I know. Where do they come up with these?
Well, clown's pocket, I'll tell you now, is often used in a kind of
Wizard sleeve way.
Yes, in an idiom around reproductive stuff. So
I think he might have meant that.
So what? But yeah, actually, that's what I want to understand. What qualities did Aberdeen's defence have
Probably
that a clown's pocket also has?
My reading of it would be that Aberdeen were poor and therefore were getting done by the opposition, and therefore they were a clown's pocket.
Yeah, but isn't it nice in a clown's pocket?
Well, who knows?
You're next to a clown's leg and privates.
Maybe they keep things in there that I don't know.
I would say a clown's pocket is a place of mystery.
Sure.
Unlike, why? I don't like what if the defence were not well organised, for example, or they were sitting too deep, or they were not communicating well enough, or they didn't have enough width, or the right back and the central defender on the right weren't, whatever it was. I don't see how that's like being in a like
Yeah,
a
you're
clown's
right.
pocket.
Because the thing with the clowns, but magic and mystery, isn't it, that are associated with clowns and fairgrounds and all those kind of things. It's a strange,
Like a clown's car
Wouldn't
falling
it be
apart.
chaos?
Is there chaos in a clown's pocket?
Yeah, because they could pull anything out of it.
That's a good thing for a defence.
yeah.
But pull anything out.
But maybe they don't know themselves.
Suddenly we're keeping possession, John Stone style. We're running out. Oh, we're distributing from the back like Bobby Moore.
Yeah.
We're like, you don't know what we're like.
We've got ventured further into the world of fantasy, if anything.
The metaphor is meant to illuminate, not obscure. Now,
It might have just been a Ferguson mind game. He's very good.
he's
at
mind
them, wasn't
gamed us. He's mind gaming us from the past. What I will say is, Lewis, this is what I'd say: clown's car falls apart. Clown's car, too many people in it getting in and out.
he? Yeah.
Clown's car.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
So
Have you got
that's
any
my
more?
help for Ferguson?
Andy Townsend described Darren Huckabee as a speedboat without a driver. That's not bad. I like this. Benitez said, some people cannot see a priest on a mountain of sugar. Go on, mate. Get your head around that.
I'm struggling with that. Some people, because that obviously comes from Spanish, right? Where it'll be
Sure.
un padre una montaña de sucre. It'll
Nice.
be like that, right? And like, but sometimes the Spanish, like, they got some interesting metaphors, like shit in your milk. Like, and this is like, wow, what? Like, they've got a whole different system of thought over there in other countries. So those other countries. So like,
I love these.
cannot see a priest on a man. Is that a priest? Oh, right. I suppose because a priest is wearing black and the mountain of sugar is white. So it's actually a priest on a mountain of sugar is going to be very obvious. It's also get off it. What are you doing on
It's
it?
dangerous because it could be like those things we used to get warned about as a kid, where they sand pits or whatever. Not grain pits. Do you remember those?
Men are not going to go on that grain pit.
No, because but they were
In my
terrifying.
gravel pit.
They were terrifying. Those adverts.
Well, yeah, that's what their job was.
'Cause it was
terrify you.
A grain pit is like quicksand to a child.
It was exactly like that.
Yeah.
Terrified me. 1 minute you're playing in the grain, nothing but pleasure. But then the grain slowly devours you. You're a child. Yeah, you're right.
Grain, you think you like it, don't you? Have it for your breakfast, don't
Grain,
you?
friendly grain.
It's gonna kill you.
Grain can't hurt me. Look at this honey monster. Admittedly, that's a puff, not a grain. But the same thing. But the real monster is gravity, pulling you within. Now you're sorry. Don't go to the grain pit. Who's going to the grain
Who's going
pit?
to grain pits?
Who's going to grain pits on such a scale that they had to make an advert about not going?
Like when they say this year, this amount of people have died in circumstances, obviously not, awful when people die, but
Terrible
they give
thing.
stats about, I think I said earlier, people choking on a croissant as an example of a ludicrous example. But the same would be applied to grain pits. How often was it happening when we were kids?
It must be about as often as the croissants. I don't understand why that advert was made.
No.
Like, we could look at the information if we need to get to the bottom of it.
Anyway, fantastic analogy. Wenger said after losing to Brighton, when you have just the trousers on, it's easy to take the trousers off as well. When you're naked completely, you have to find a shirt and try to put it on again, and then you're dressed normally again.
Whoa. These guys go places in their
it's
metaphors.
the foreign managers, isn't it?
The foreign managers, they're using some interesting ideas. So when you got trousers on, it's easy to take your if you've got no trousers on, you can put trousers on. If you're completely naked, you've got to find a shirt.
Yeah.
I don't know. What I don't understand is why shifting from shirts to trousers and naked to not naked.
Yeah.
And it also makes me wonder what the hell went on in that game against Brighton. Sounds like people really let themselves go out there.
I love it when you now get the transition to a British manager in Ian Holloway, who's a fantastically entertaining person.
His metaphor's not going to be like some mad abstract poem.
It isn't. Quite the contrary.
Prats they were. 11 prats.
He said, our performance today would have been not the best looking bird. Apologies.
Sexism.
But at least we got her in the taxi. Oh, God.
Oh, mate.
She may not have been the best looking lady we ended up taking home, but it was still very pleasant and very nice. So thanks very much, and let's have coffee.
Well, there
now,
you go.
We don't condone.
Endorse the casual objectification. Jen, do you want to say anything as a female there in response to that casual language?
I like the polite bit at the end.
Yeah, just a coffee. Actually, it's just people having they're single people.
Absolutely.
Having a bit of fun.
Yeah.
The bit about the taxi sounds a bit weird, but...
I suppose so, because it sort of introduces you to the
Like
harsh
just
realities
trying
of
to
late
trick
night
her,
activity. There shouldn't be any
taxi.
trickery involved. Charm.
No, absolutely not.
Charm and consent.
Thanks, Ian Holloway.
Holloway, you've put us in a difficult... It's like playing against Ian Holloway's teams. You're surprised by how well organised it was. And no, we're in a trap now. They've won 1-0.
Yep.
And that's what happens.
Lovable Bobby Robson once said a game could have been a potential Bernarda pip. Which is sweet, isn't it?
Oh, lovely old Grandad Pops, Bobby Robson, you lovely old cuddly old thing, you. Like True Geordie said, he was the Newcastle Tim, personified it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Whereas I see Newcastle as always as Keegan, like mad lashing passions of Newcastle.
Manchester United, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about just because of.
Do you think this is the beginning of Ollie out?
Well, it's interesting. It's the Ronaldo so popular will continue through the season, won't it? You just know it.
Someone said on TalkSport, I think
was it Simon Jordan?
Maybe
Who
this
said
is
it will
get
be
him
his
sacked.
undoing. He said Ronaldo will be Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's undoing, which I thought was an amazing statement, actually.
Simon Jordan's great at this stuff.
He's great, isn't he?
Yeah, so what's he like? He's saying that the Ronaldo thing is going to increase pressure and make him, and it's going to because what he's done is he's brought a challenge to his own authority into the thing, into the camp.
Exactly, with the potential to not just internally challenge his authority, but externally as well.
Yeah,
as in the pressure from the fans. I mean, they were not happy, as evidently was.
He did look a bit
Ronaldo
cheesed off when he was walking off, didn't he?
Yeah, and then Ollie said after the game, we can't start him. Can't start him every game. And then he said,
"We know more than you know, journalists."
Yeah, and then he said he's not a young puppy anymore.
That's a tautology because a puppy is already young. So a young puppy, that means it's it's embryonic.
Yeah, which he isn't.
No one is out here in the world.
No.
So I think Simon Jordan's raised a good point there.
Yeah.
I think that. Do you think that it will be the undoing? 'Cause it's going to bring a different type of pressure.
I think it's going to be so interesting to chart what happens this year with United, because you would say that there's a kind of stability with those other three of the top four. You know, in managers,
Chelsea stable, City stable,
yeah, Liverpool stable at the moment. Man United just feels like week to week you're assessing whether they're up or down in kind of the minds of the fans. I did hear a kind of taxi driver or something in Manchester on TalkSport talking about how the way you talk about our opinion of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not the way that we think about him. So, you know, it could be that this is kind of media driven and all that kind of stuff. But it also does, you only have to look at Ronaldo's reaction on the pitch and just to think, how does Ole get through the kind of week-to-week potential pitfalls?
Because as well, the other thing with those other three, they've all won stuff lately,
yeah.
Right? City, people are like, oh, should they get a forward, or will Pep do something mad in a big game? That's the only things people ever really say, like on the sort of superficial media type level. Liverpool, they didn't buy enough people, but then look how tight they look.
Yep.
Chelsea generally in the ascendancy, a little bit of a few little blips there for a moment, but I think people think Tuchel's great, and and that they're generally regarded to be have bought well, and it's a good squad, and in a sense they're not expected to win City,
and they won the Champions League, didn't they?
They've just won the Champions League.
Yeah, so pressure's off whatever happens in a way. But the Ronaldo fact is so interesting, isn't it? Because there's so much fanfare about him rejoining. Obviously, United fans were overjoyed about it. But, you know, Ronaldo's bigger than Solskjaer. There's no doubt about it. Ronaldo is bigger than Solskjaer. So it's going to be about making sure, he's satisfied with how often he's playing, the games he's playing in, the players that were playing around him, that there's a team. Because I know a lot of, certainly listening to Gary Neville, there's a lot of thought that Ronaldo, I wouldn't necessarily say a luxury player, but the idea that he tracks back isn't, he doesn't. The idea that he presses, he doesn't. And so what you need around Ronaldo is a team that are going to complement him by doing that work that he doesn't do.
And the McFred situation at United is what people seemingly question most. Are those two sort of holding?
I think the idea is that they've got a squad of lots of very talented players, but they don't have a vision for how to use those players ultimately, and that could potentially, despite all the fanfare around Ronaldo, that could be their undoing this season. And as Gary Neville said, too many generals, not enough soldiers, which I think is a nice expression of, this idea that
Fernandes is a general, Ronaldo's a general,
Cavani,
Pogba's a general.
Actually what you need is soldiers out there. Neville even said, in the Ferguson days, that you didn't have to be the best player, but you had to be the hardest working player, and that's what Ferguson filled his team with. So for every Cantona there was a, Pallister, or for every Ronaldo there was a Neville.
Two Nevilles sometimes.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Neville doesn't think that that's what United have now. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I just think every week we'll have another story about Ronaldo.
Yeah, you're right. It's also because he's a phenomenon that's bigger than he transcends the sport.
Yep.
So that's he's a true star. I was thinking, what would happen if Ronaldo was at Liverpool? What would happen if Ronaldo was at City? Because in a sense, the manager has to be the sort of the central figure, the most potent force like that. Even if that has to be the optics, and that has to be that has to be the reality, doesn't it? And I was thinking, well, it's not necessarily a shortcoming of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but that this bloody cultural force is diminishing him, because who wouldn't be? And I wonder if Guardiola, even though there was talk of Ronaldo going to City, I wonder if Guardiola would have had him there. And I suppose it would be a different situation. You wouldn't have the nostalgia. You'd have a team full of proven winners and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I don't know. It's obviously impossible to say.
I mean, you can't imagine Klopp or Guardiola bending to the will of one player who wants to play every game or gets annoyed by not starting. Not that I'm suggesting that that's what Ronaldo has done, but it's certainly out there as a narrative.
I was listening to the radio, right, during the sort of pre-Everton Man U, and the commentator was going, Ronaldo's on the pitch warming up. He looks pretty happy. He's got a spring in his step. You could tell someone's psychological state from the way that they're warming up.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's bothered by it. It's interesting, man.
Yeah,
isn't it? And then what about, didn't someone post the Ferguson? Didn't someone, a famous person posted video of Ferguson saying he should have started? The UFC fighter, what's his name? The dude that beat Conor McGregor. I can't believe I can't remember his name anyway, but serious champion in the UFC.
Yeah.
He was there, and I think filmed on his phone. And Ferguson, this is all I've not seen this footage, so I could be talking nonsense. But apparently Ferguson going, he should have started him. Everton would have seen his name not on the team sheet. It gives people a lift type thing.
Wow.
Interesting, isn't
Very
it?
interesting.
The soap opera.
We're at 94 minutes.
Let's wrap this up.
We'll wrap it up.
Okay, we'll wrap it up with predictions now. Right, Jen, that means you're going to have your own column, which I'm going to...
you can add... I have a blank column for you on the other page.
Hold on, I'm writing Jen in this column here. Russell, Gareth, Actual. That's what there is. Now there's Russell, Gareth, Actual,
guys,
Jen.
Can I just point out...
It's International Week.
It's International Week.
So we don't have to do this now. We'll do it next week. Because this is just going to sit
no point doing
gathering
this.
dust.
No.
All right, well, we'll just wrap it up. We've done 94 minutes. It's been a good podcast. There's been some great reviews. Why don't you give it a review? Watch it on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can have a look at what Gareth looks like for when you're sending us compliments. Continue to support us. Continue to send us your jingles and your fan art. We'll use it when possible. Gareth, have you got anything to add?
I thought you might want to give some advice to Graham Potter, Brighton manager, on beards. Because if you noticed, his beard is... I know I said this last time. It's getting longer.
Can I have a look at him?
Well, his beard is at its longest that it's been.
That's how big. Unless you intervene, that damn thing will just keep going.
We've all been there.
Is he a difficult phase? Is it is he gonna? He's not got the guts to go no, but he's. Where is he?
It's verging on Nuno size now, I would say. It's pretty big. I mean, I think.
Let me see this, man.
That's not. It's bigger than that.
Potter, Graham Potter. I like it. I think it looks lovely. I think it suits him, and I think it looks better. I think without it, he looks too much like sort of someone that would play like Lofty or Curly Watts, like a sort of a character like that out of a British soap.
Yeah.
And I think with it, he looks better.
This is probably it. Look.
No, I think he should leave it. What do you think he should do? Trim the sides.
Well, it's tricky, isn't it? It's that stage that we've
it's
all been
nice brown
to
beard.
with
It's a bit
beards.
puffy.
Where it's like you get to a point with a beard where you think, it's getting a bit too long, and then you start enjoying getting pleasure from the length. There's something about seeing growth in a beard that's like almost
potency.
It's potency. It kind of reinforces your
male identity.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So it becomes something that then you feel kind of protective of, and the idea of shaving it off.
I don't think he should.
No, just let it go.
I think he should let it grow, let it go. In the words of Elsa from Frozen, don't hold it back anymore.
Yeah,
I offer all the advice from Elsa and Frozen to Potter and his beard. Let it grow.
It'd be interesting to see how far he goes with it. I'm hoping that he really goes for it. Potter.
I say don't what if he just when you see someone after they've been a hostage.
Yeah.
And everything they've gone, I didn't have time to shave. I was hostage. You go, oh, you look different. Yeah, I've been an hostage. What was you doing? I was managing Brighton. It's actually going quite well. We put together an incredible run. It might be superstitious. Has anyone asked him about it in an interview?
I don't think so. That's a good point, superstition, because Brighton have been fantastic this year, haven't they?
Yeah.
So maybe he's not shaving it. Like, I I don't know if you saw Tom Huddleston many years ago.
We shaved his head in support of someone with cancer.
That's right.
People often do this.
Yeah.
Don't give Huddleston
No,
or
so
Hiddleston. Huddleston.
Huddleston.
Oh, yeah. All right.
So Huddleston carried on growing his hair, and it was for a charity, and then they cut it on the pitch in a goal celebration. It was
They
brilliant.
cut it on the pitch.
On the pitch, yeah. It's one of the best ever Premier League goal
I've sort
celebrations.
of got a vague memory of that now. What, clippers or scissors?
No,
or
someone's took scissors to it on the pitch.
one like just chipped off a ponytail.
Yeah, well, a big chunk of it. Yeah.
That would have looked mental for the rest of the game. I hope it was a late goal. You have to play with a big chunk of hair come off of his
Yeah,
head.
that was his commitment.
It's a good thing he did.
Yeah.
And I think I back Potter.
Yeah, me too.
Back Potter's beard, grow it longer, grow all your body hair, have great tufts of it coming out of your bottom of your trousers, have werewolfy sleeves, open your fly a bit and have a big sort of cone of pubes drooping over like a wisteria plant. That's the perfect plant, that's what I was thinking of.
Oh,
It's a good way to end.
All right, we'll do our predictions next week. It's the international break, so there'll be more gossip and idle chatter. Remember to review this show. Remember, most of all, that you are nice, football is nice. Remember what Dean Ashton taught us. It's a world of fantasy that we can sensually enter into. Is that right, Gal?
it is.
Football is nice.
It is.